I've just been in Greece for 2 weeks, so here's a story I could have given more thought to. Hi, this is Half-Baked Tales, where I write and read one halfway thought-through short story every week. They're not always good, but that's the point. Last week, there was no podcast. My husband and I were visiting the ruins of Odysseus' palace on Ithaca. My hiatus has left me refreshed and full of ideas for some shitty stories. This week's episode is about the responsibility of being part of a community. We're following Ilena, a very small girl in an even smaller village who is her generation's only hope of proving their worthiness. Get comfy. Here is Half-Baked Tale number 31, The Beating Ground. Ilena is small, even for a girl her age. Her parents and brother have always towered over her, as is natural. Family sets the bar for children to measure their growth by. The gaping height difference is a promise only the future can deliver. She was the smallest as well when she started at school. Back then, the bar set by her schoolmates was a few inches, a foot at most. But primary school for the other children was like a grove with deluxe fertilizer. Every day, Ilena watched her friends proceed towards the goalpost, joining her parents, brother, and teachers in the height of adulthood, while she was left behind. Hard though she may try, her roots keep her from the sky. She never received special treatment for her height difference, though it is often offered to her. When her teacher offered her a special place at the front of the group today, she stubbornly refused to leave her spot in the carefully arranged alphabetical lines. She belongs between Henry, to her left, and Isabella, to her right, directly behind the line of names starting A to F and in front of the names starting M to R. This is her place, regardless of the skyscraper-esque children surrounding her. A small thought at the back of her mind begs her to take it back, to call the teacher and say she was wrong, and she would like special treatment so as to see the hustle and bustle at the event today. But Ilena's will is strong. This is the first year she and her classmates get to march in the village parade. She will not give that up. Still, she cannot see much of the parade through the torsos of her classmates, upperclassmen, and teachers. The more around them she peeks, the less she sees of the spectacular costumes and decorations on display. Her class is in the back, where the youngest are allocated. When the drums start, they'll have to wait at least 15 minutes till it's their turn to march. The tallest of her friends can probably see all the way past the school groups to the adult men and women with their traditional headdresses and costumes. Ilena can see nothing. Though the street is crowded with a mess of bodies, the sky above is clear. The parade is never darkened by putrid sky. The summer is always kind to the village's celebration. Ilena tilts back her tiny chin all the way up towards that unobstructed and wonderful sight. The tips of the buildings are unmarked, unchanged by the hefty crowd. They stand as freely as any other day. The sky and the ground have never been on even footing. Ilena thinks she would much prefer to be a tiny bird in the sky than a tiny mouse on the ground. The sky is ultimate freedom. It has no limit. Grounded creatures are held hostage, bound by gravity. They must compete against anything taller and stronger than themselves. Into her field of vision, still directed upwards, a tiny bird takes flight, and Ilena tracks it. It swerves a pattern through the air, one she could never hope to mimic amongst the crowd today. Even on a normal day, she has no freedom to choose her own path on the busy high street. The little bird has its own parade, as well as the best view of the one trapping Ilena. Ilena might be small, and that bird so much smaller, but it has power she can only dream of. There is one speaker set up by the square where the parade ends and culminates into a party. Just the one singular speaker, through which the Grand Marshal will issue the orders for each group to begin their marches via the sound of the beating drum. Those drums, strapped to the chests of the eldest students of the music school, will resound through that lone speaker. Kosas, a friend of Ilena's older brother, just having passed into adulthood and no longer walking in the parade, was tasked with the responsibility of setting the speaker up. Ilena has sat next to Kosas at church very often when he joins her brother to snicker during the priest's homily. He always was meek when they were caught and scolded. Her brother would smirk, but Kosas would sulk. Ilena did not like her brother misbehaving, but she respected his dignity. Even as small as she was, she always recognized the boyish weakness in Kosas. A strange match to her brother, one young man who keeps his head up, and one who cowers down. As one so close to the ground, it is the faces of cowards Ilena can see most clearly. She dreams of growing all the time, to be a giant lying on the mountains which surround her home is her greatest wish of all. Her long legs would have her looming high, high above the square, where all the villagers would look small as ants. She'd squat on rooftops and observe them all marching in their lines, conducting their duties. There's nothing she'd miss, everything would be hers to see. Then, as a giant, she would learn a new kind of dignity. Pride and piety would drive her to hold her head up high, because she'll still know that the ground is for the cowards. Finally she'll be on equal footing with the birds. Time passes leisurely under a hot sun. Ilena's classmates shift weight between their legs. The buzz of discomfort crescendos slowly. It should have been their turn by now to begin their march. The school children should have begun moving along. If there is a steady drum beat sounding through Kosas' speaker, no one in the school can hear it. A troop of empty-headed children, driven by excitement under the sun, will not function without the guidance of their teachers or adults. Ilena looks up at them all, sees them floundering and confused. She knows the order of the parade as well as any of them. It's their turn to begin. It must be. This parade, held on the same day each year for generations, has a purpose. It gives responsibility to the children, or rather, the elders of the village hand over the parade to them, the young people, the ones who will bear the responsibility of tomorrow. At the parade, they are given this first task: demonstrate their abilities to work together, follow orders, and uphold tradition. Reassure their parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, and neighbors that in the years to come, the next generation will be capable of taking up the torch. Demonstrate a promise that the village, their customs, their livelihood will thrive as ever. This parade tells their elders, "Rest now. We will take care of you." This day is when the children's voices are heard, when their aptitude is displayed and respected by those who raised and cared for them. Today, the village children are trusted. But the beat of the drum cannot be heard. The children are listening closely for it, excited and willing to take on the responsibility promised and entrusted to them. But it is nowhere. They cannot hear it, and they cannot find unity in their marching. One group goes too fast, another too slow. They scold each other and fight. Some stop, thinking it best to wait for direction, for an adult to find them and set them straight, and ruin the elders' faith in them. This failure conveys that the children are not self-sufficient. This is a weakness, Ilena knows, one her generation will not recover from. Her head is bowed by the shame of it, giving in to gravity. She does not feel worthy of her dreams of being a giantess. She feels like a bug, scurrying around creatures bigger, mightier, more superior than she, crawling through cracks in the old pavement. Useless, useless, useless. Her knees buckle, and she squats. Might as well give in to the grief of her inadequacy. She will accustom herself to the lowly spaces of the ground, reserved for the inept, the irresponsible, the cowardly. Squatting there, she can see more clearly through the feet and ankles of every school child piled into the street before her. She recognizes the uniform shoes of those in her class, her year, others in the primary school a couple of years her senior. She sees the larger, structured shoes of the children who are just reaching puberty, experiencing the growth spurt that marks a coming of age. Past them, she can see the clumsy high heels of the girls in the secondary school, their feet not yet accustomed to the constraints of womanhood. Besides, amongst and further along are the cleanly polished loafers of the oldest boys in the Navy school, the footsteps of Elena's future, clearly marked by the shoes she has not yet purchased, but will eventually pile unused in her closet, hand-me-downs for those who will come after her, the ones who she will need to rely on in turn. Ahead of them all, beyond the grasp of childhood, the adults march in perfect unison. They hold the mantle, carrying it for the older and the younger folk. She knows their shoes as well as any. Beautiful, decorated, sleek, and traditional, boasting the colors held dear by their village for centuries. She has peeked at them in her mother's closet. She processed the pangs of jealousy watching her older cousin receive her first magnificent pair. It was delightful how her cousin's traditional dress swirled and twirled as she danced around, testing out the new shoes. These are the shoes adults don when they finally have the strength to wear them. These are the shoes Ilena sees, far, far ahead, visible through the gaps in her classmates' legs and feet. They beat out and stamp to the rhythm of the drum which Ilena and her peers cannot hear. Clap, clap, clap. The adults' feet are clear and concise. Clap, 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 clap. The beat, once heard, is difficult to forget. Ilena taps along. Clap, 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 clap. Her fingers tap as well, practicing it, tapping it into her bones so she won't forget. Clap, 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 clap. The beat is inside her now. She need not fear she'll forget it. As she stands, her foot stomps to the beat louder. Her hand slams on her leg. The beat, her beat, is correct. It's part of her. Her classmates hear and recognize it. They know it to be as true as she does. They stomp first, establishing the rhythm, passing it along so the whole school may recognize and remember it together. Clap, clap, clap. The sound of the school children ripples forward, further into the parade, reaching from one generation to the next. This beat has been with them their entire lives. It was passed down by their parents and grandparents as far back as their lineage goes. It is in all of them, as is the knowledge to take the first step forwards, the first step in their parade march, in their march through life. They march as one, by the beat gifted to them, that they share together and will share forever. Elena's steps are the loudest, for the beat truly emanates from her, the smallest, closest to the ground, furthest to the back. It is she who drives her generation forward. She holds her head straight, proud, and sees the tiny bird flying just ahead of her. She cannot imagine its freedom, but it cannot imagine her power. That was Half-Baked Tale number 31, The Beating Ground, written on the banks of the most beautiful beach in Ithaca, inspired by a local celebration we stumbled on in Kefalonia. Our second or third day in Greece, we went to the Kefalonian capital of Argostoli for a stroll in the morning before the locals relaxed for their lunchtime siesta. It was bustling with children in uniform and adults in fancy dresses, not like the British kind of fancy dress, but the more traditional kind. We sat outdoors at a cafe, and the waitress explained that there was a parade about to start, celebrating the island's unity with mainland Greece. We heard two different stories about the Kefalonian independence. One was from the Ottoman Empire, one was from the British Empire. We're not entirely sure who they won their independence from, but we were happy to witness their continued celebration of it. It was the calmness of the sky and the birds and the bugs flying around as normal compared to the excitement of the people that sparked this story in my head. Ilena's character developed via inspiration from Ursula Le Guin's book, Lavinia, which I was reading while we were in Greece. Lavinia is a book characterizing the life of Aeneas of Troy's second wife and third lover, an Italian princess who was largely overlooked in Virgil's famous poem, the Aeneid. Lavinia's devotion to piety is intriguing to me, especially as a newly married person. A pious person conducts and completes and lives by the responsibilities assigned to them. I believe we can choose those responsibilities, that they are determined by the lives we choose for ourselves. And I explored these new thoughts through this very tiny girl who loves her home and has a great sense of dignity. I'm still getting settled, so that's all I'm going to say about my process for today. If you listen to this podcast, if you enjoy it, please consider recommending it to a friend, liking it, following it, or engaging it with it in any way on any platform. I've been making more of an effort to post about the podcast on Instagram and TikTok, but balancing the energy of keeping up with the algorithm and not being overwhelmed by the soul-destroying nature of social media is pretty hard. I'd really love to connect with people who love stories, who love writing stories, and especially people who just love imperfection. Half-Baked Tales is great for anyone who loves a bit of chill, low-stakes listening, or is just super imaginative. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next week.